Can you please look up this site?
See if we can figure out something.
Good morning. We've got an angry Phoebe Jane. Teeny, you're nice and early. I have this chair next to me because Frank, the grey one that you hardly ever see, he was sitting on it and I didn't want to move him. So instead, I went and got a different chair. And now it's empty and I'm not centered. Morning, Britta. Morning, Steve. I slept beautifully, absolutely beautifully. I feel so much better, and I'm so glad that. Okay, there we go. Now we have a kitty cam. I'm so glad that I went to bed at the normal time because I still woke up like when the sun started coming up, and then I just went back to sleep and just chilled a little. But I feel like yesterday was like a fever dream because I was just so tired the whole day. I was just watching a very sweet Judge Middleton thing that I thought we could watch together. Let me just quickly. Just want to save this. I also watched the whole of the 25th of June that I had for Judge Simpson, which was only one. I only had one video for 25th of June, and Heenan isn't there. So that is a little frustrating, but it's okay. I'm thinking of reaching out to other channels. Who also stream Judge Simpson and seeing if any of them have it. I don't mind exchanging what I've got. So if you watch other channels and you know that they often have Judge Simpson, if they'd be open to sharing, just Heenan. I don't need anything else. I just need Heenan. Why is my watch history not coming up on browser anymore? It's really annoying. Yeah, I don't need like heaps. I just need just Heenan. Okay, got it. I might have gone a little too far back.
I know there's some ongoing medical.
I understand, and I don't know what the
action is.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Okay, now we're on track.
All right, TJ is going with the clean shaven look. All right, this is file number 241002, People versus Michael James Watkins. Good morning, Mr. Watkins.
Sorry.
To you, sir. I adjourned this matter to get the full police report and get victim input. The prosecutor will not be here this morning, but I did get victim input. I got a nice letter from your sister explaining some of the background and her position. And she is fully in favor of a deferral with a domestic violence treatment and a probation. I mentioned to you, I knew your father. I was familiar with your family. you got too many people in too little space and family friction. And it resulted in this, and you were just sitting there saying, well, take me to jail. I do not believe there's any financial restitution request, and she does not object to the deferral and thinks that you could benefit from counseling. Mr. Knopfsinger, what would you like me to know?
And Judge, I don't have a copy of that letter. Can I inquire? We were going to ask that the no contact be lifted. I don't know if Ms. Watkins addresses that.
Well, let's see.
Or if the court would be entertain a request, drop the no contact.
I normally do, and I feel he should not be sentenced to fail and lift the no contact order so he can see his mother. So she apparently does not object to that.
Very good. Very good. Would you like allocution?
Yes, please.
Okay. A couple things, Judge. If the court's received the police report, I can sort of supplement that. There was reference to a conviction in Indiana that was for a low-level criminal mischief some time ago, years ago, in fact. I did want to note, the court alluded to it, that Mike was the one who called 911 and simply said he lost his school. And so that's the purpose for the diversion. And then in addition to that, he wants to work with youth and teach music. So this diversion would allow him to do that. It's kind of a family matter here.
Yeah.
And it's a pity that all of it happened. I get nothing but remorse from Mike. In fact, that's been his sort of position as he dialed 911 after this happened. So we would ask the court to do that. My understanding, he posted a $200 bond. We would ask the court to use that to apply to any fines and costs. We'd ask the court to waive any discretionary fines and costs. He does have a job lined up at Flat Rock, so hopefully we can do that. And then the other thing, Judge, this is a little interesting. There's been a question about whether or not whether or not his bond conditions prevent him from leaving the state.
I can certainly lift that.
Okay. And the copy of bond conditions I have doesn't include that provision.
Well, normally, on the circuit court bond form, it says may not leave the state. And as you know, many of our people work in Indiana, or lots of them work right across the border in the border counties. So we routinely lift it. But as I recall, he's a musician, travels for work, and he won't be on bond. He'll be on probation. And so I'm going to lift the conditions of the bond, including the no contact provision, and he may leave the state.
Very good, very good. With that, Judge, we'd ask the court to waive any discretionary fines and costs and let Mr. Watkins participate. Sounds like everyone's in favor, Judge.
Good morning. Are you here on this case?
Yes, it's
Melissa. All right, I got your letter, so thank you.
Yep.
And why don't you come up and have a seat?
Where at?
Right here. It was, what time is it set for? Set for 10, but I'm glad you're here. We did another case first. I appreciate your letter. Very sincere. Michael was, through counsel, expressing his remorse. From your letter, I discern that you don't have any objection to lifting the no contact provision so that he can see his mother.
Yep, no objection.
And you believe that he would benefit from counseling and a probation.
No, I don't think he needs probation. I think he needs some kind of anger
Well,
management.
I have to put him on probation to do the anger management.
Okay.
So, and then if he completes it, the charge will be taken off of his record. So I'm glad you were here. Is there anything else you want me to know?
He's a really good kid and dad, and what happened was kind of my fault at the same time, but I also kept asking for help from law enforcement and I wasn't getting it, and my brothers were tired of hearing it, and I do take responsibility for what happened to him.
Well, you got choked. And I
Yeah.
said there were too many people in too small of a space.
Yeah.
So who's there now?
Now it's just me, Emery, and my mom,
Okay,
and then Michael if he's allowed to come back.
he will be allowed to come back. Is that all right with you?
Yes, sir.
All right, tell me about your upcoming musical gigs.
So I actually canceled like a 4-show stint this week. I only ended up playing one because I wasn't aware. I didn't want to violate my bond conditions just in case. But what I have coming up next month this month on July 13th, I play in Three Rivers twice, and then I'm in Three Oaks. So July 13th
Where are you playing in Three Rivers?
at Lowry's Books and More. I host the open mic there.
Okay,
And then I'm playing at the Huss Project as well. So all the proceeds from these shows go to like homeless outreach programs and stuff. So I try to do as much as I can in that regard. Three Rivers is the scene that built my career after I came home from college. So I will be forever grateful for them.
I just talked to a young man from Three Rivers. In 2008, he assaulted his wife. And he didn't do the deferral. He simply took the conviction, got 5 days in jail, went to Teen Challenge, got clean, moved out of state and started a successful business, very successful business. Once he got sober, his wife came back and said, if you're going to be the kind of father and husband that you should be, I will marry you again. So they got remarried. And they're doing quite well. She has a successful business as well. The point of this story is he didn't do the deferral. So he has a domestic violence conviction on his record, and it is affecting his business and his reputation. So he now, 16 years later, is asking to expunge it. Because it's caused some problems. If you do this, you won't have to expunge anything because there won't be a public record of the conviction. So you do it at the front end. Everybody's calmed down. Your family's on your side. They want to reconcile. I got her feelings and she actually came over here to tell me. So you got arraigned on June 10th and you posted John bond on June 11th, and this happened June 9th. So I'm going to order a 12-month probation. You can complete this probation in 6 months, but it's 12 months if needed. I'm ordering 12 days jail credit 2, and of the 12 days, 10 are deferred. You're not going to do any more jail if you do what I ask you to do. But I got 10 days held over your head. I make the fine 0 at your lawyer's request, but there are other costs. There's a crime victim's rights fee of $75. There's a state minimum fee of $50. $150 pays a portion of your attorney's costs. Probation is $40 a month, which is $480. If you do it in 6 months, you'll save $240. You need to pay for the class.
Now is it the same class that Melissa Bliss could assign, the anger management class?
Yes.
It is. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I already have that in my email.
Well, I'm going to send you down to the probation department and they'll get you plugged into this.
Okay.
No assaultive or threatening behavior and no drugs or alcohol. Everybody that's on probation has that condition.
Yes, sir.
If we didn't have drugs or alcohol, they probably wouldn't need me because the caseload would be down to about 10% of what it is now. But everybody that's on probation has that condition. That includes marijuana, and marijuana is lawful, but not while you're on probation. I'm very hopeful here. And as I said, this is your opportunity to take care of this now, not 16 years from now.
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Watkins, I'm glad you were here. Where have you been staying?
Here and there, honestly.
Well, you'll be able to go home as of right now.
So will my tracker be lifted today as well?
Yes. Lift pretrial services. I should note. Unless has sent me an email earlier this morning. He has had no bond violations and comply with all terms. So why don't you take this form downstairs to the probation department? They'll get you started on your probation, plugged into the domestic violence and your management classes, and then you can get your pretrial services lifted. All right, you're all good to go. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much, Judge.
Thank you for understanding.
Okay, good luck to everybody.
May I speak with you for a second on Josh's behalf?
Josh,
Watkins,
what's he got?
he was involved that night as well. He's in the hospital right now.
Whoa.
Does he have a case?
Yes.
He was wanted out of state.
Yeah.
He was wanted in Indiana. Let's see here. Yeah, he has an open warrant for his arrest.
Yeah, he's in the hospital right now. His probation officer is aware of that.
That was in front of Judge Patterson, which is why I didn't know about it.
Okay.
He's also on felony probation.
Yes, he's on two kinds.
I would stop at the prosecutor's office and let them know this.
Well, I sent a letter out for him too. He was the first one I sent out.
But he's in the hospital where?
In Kalamazoo, I'm gonna say, or they have him somewhere else, but they're trying to get him
A
treated.
psychiatric hospital? Okay. I was aware that he was gonna do some of that, pled not guilty, bond conditions and lien. Mother called the state, defendant is in a mental facility for a long term, gave phone to his attorney, told him to call him. Judge Patterson issued a warrant and his probation officer Gina called. He's also wanted in Indiana.
Yeah, he's on probation in both states.
Okay, we're aware of it. No one's actively looking for him, but he's gonna have to come down here and address this when he gets out.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Is he going to speak, Mom? No?
All right, that finishes that. And it finishes what I got. We'll see what else came in while we've been on the bench. Hopefully that may be it. So on to other things. We'll be back in the morning with about 50 pretrial conferences. Hopefully we'll get a lot accomplished tomorrow, and then the landlord tenant docket in the afternoon. So thank you all for being here.
Okay, that's that. I was just busy setting up. I'm going to have to, at one portion, I'm going to have to switch you over to small laptop so that I can do a meeting on this one. But it is, I was trying to see why it's being slow. So I was in the activity monitor, and according to the activity monitor, the thing that is taking the most CPU is the activity monitor. So that didn't help me much because it was slow before that. Anyway, where did I get to last in messages? Hi, lots of people joined while I was in Judge Middleton / setting up for Oscar Land. Hi, Bug. Morning, Jen. Jen. Hopefully we can hit Jen with a gift today. Hi, Jen Pookie. This is funny because Jennifer Juniper was trying to. Jennifer Juniper sounds like a great name for a novel. I imagine she's like this badass lawyer. Maybe her client did it. Something's brewing there. Jennifer Juniper, I might write a character in your namesake. This is funny because we were trying to hit Jennifer Juniper. And then another Jen got it. He does look very young. So Psychosaurus Rex, I think, from what I understood when I watched it the first time, because I paused before he came to his ruling, the family is known to Middleton. The lady who was there was the victim. She was his sister, and she wrote a letter detailing the events. So I think that maybe the way things played out, he went with that recommendation because he's not really he's not scared of sentencing people. I love your neon. Oh, is it those two? Thank you. Morning, Mel. It's a song title, Donovan. Who's Donovan? I didn't see a Donovan. Oh, yeah, still is his sister. Maybe. Allegedly. No, I'm joking. I'm starting rumors here. Okay. I do have a slight problem with Oscar. We have about 2 hours, which should be okay for today. Donovan is a singer. Oh, so Jennifer. Oh my gosh, that is so weird. So I actually have a novel that I've written. It's gone through beta reader stages, and really all I have to do is wrap up the draft and then send it out. But of course, classic ADHD, it's been sitting in that stage for a very long time. I'm very proud of it. I did a lot of research on it. It's a freaking great book. ChatGPT told me it is incredibly disturbing and that I should see someone about my mental health, which is exactly what I was going for. I know that sounds weird, but that's what I was going for. But the dad's name in that book is Donovan. And it was one of those names, like when I was creating the characters, I could see the dad and I knew exactly who he was. And the person I pictured, his name was Jonathan, but I couldn't have that description and his name because it'd be too close. I could potentially have some kind of weird lawsuit. Yeah. So I went with Donovan, and Donovan didn't quite match. Okay, over to Oscar. Oscar. Yes, Mel, I did write a book, and I took a lot of time and I put a lot of effort in it, and it is a freaking great book. Just haven't finished it. Such a good book. If you pay $6,000 US, I can send it to you. PayPal's linked in bio. I also had a mentor working on the book with me, and she wanted me to change the ending. So I finished the book with the ending that she suggested, and it's not the ending. It's not the right one. Not at all. Oh, if what I was saying is if it goes back to the same bat, cricket bat, blah, 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 I'm going to have to skip because we're all going to die of boredom. I will gladly share the original with you if you want to see the original 12 hours of that. But I think we are they're losing us so fast. And this is a long trial. We all struggle with long trials here in chat. So, yeah.
Again.
Identified persons who robbed him, and he was absolutely confident, and it was shown in court it was not them. That's what they teach us when it comes to reliability, that we must be careful. So what I'm asking you, just stand back for a moment. His version is after the shooting, and when it dawned upon him that it might have been Reeva, he opened his bedroom sliding doors. He did other things as well, but I'm dealing with vis-a-vis your evidence, and shouted for help, amongst other things. And we say that's the help that you earned. That is the help that you earned. Any comment?
Milady, I'm wondering how that would be possible, because just before he shouted for help, the female shouted for help.
Yes, that's your interpretation, because
it was distinctly two different voices. I could hear it very clearly.
I understand you're not a voice expert, you cannot say that. But what I understand is in your mind, it's a woman's voice to one, it's different to the man's. I understand that. I'm talking about him shouting. He was anxious. And what we say to you, but that's not what I'm dealing with now. That other voice was also him, where it pitched. But I'm dealing with a different point. He shouted help to the outside. All we know in your version, you did hear a man shouting help. Not so?
I did hear, yes.
We also know one thing. In terms of your version, it would make no sense when a man is about to kill and then killed his girlfriend for him to shout out. It would not fit into that scenario. Not so.
Milady, I think the reasons and the feelings should be asked to Mr. Pistorius if he takes the stand.
I'm not asking about the feelings and the reasons. I put to you a very fair question. And if you don't want to answer it, we'll draw our inferences. And I'll submit it to the court.
Please, can you ask the question again?
The court would just bear with me. I just received the note now. It's just a second. I apologize for that, but I just received the note in the
No, that's fine.
Just an objective fact. If there's a man about to kill his girlfriend with a firearm, she runs away, seeks safety in the toilet, and is shot. One thing that's inconsistent with that is a man in that same house during that time period shouting for help, to the extent that you also reconcile that shouting with people being attacked in a house. It's inconsistent. That's all I'm saying.
It was part of the sequence of events.
Yeah, I'm asking you something else. I'm not asking you part of the sequence. If you have a difficulty to make any concession, that's fine. I'll argue to the court.
So what are you
asking?
asking?
It's inconsistent to those facts sketched to you.
Milady, I can only think that Mr. Pistorius must answer why he called for help. I was not there.
Madam,
I can just say why.
madam,
What I heard.
you know,
I don't know. She shouted for help. He shouted for help. I don't know why he did that.
all that I get from your answer, and I put it to you because I'm going to argue to the court. Sometimes when it's an obvious concession, you will still not make that, insofar as in your mind you think that may assist the accused, you will still not make even an obvious concession. That's your evidence. Because to me it's obvious. But you will not do it because it might be good for him. That's you as a witness. That's what I put to you. Do you want to comment on that?
Milady, I'm as honest as I can be to the court. I'm just saying what I heard. And I'm giving my story as clearly as I can.
Shall I ask you a last time and then move on and see if you're willing to consider that? On a version that a man has a gun, he wants to kill his girlfriend, he wants to shoot her. She runs away from him, she hides in the toilet and he shot her through the toilet door. One part of your evidence is inconsistent of your observations, what you heard. And that is a man shouting for help in that series of events to the extent that also that shouting caused you to think they were attacked and there was a house break.
Milady, afterwards, after I heard what happened, the only thing I can now sit and ask is, was it a mockery? I don't know.
Yes.
I'm not Mr. Pistorius. I do not know. I cannot answer on behalf of him.
You've
I don't
answered.
know.
I'm very happy with your answer because that's what I'm going to argue. You will even call it a mockery other than to make an obvious concession. That's what I put here. You will even go so far, ma'am, to call it a mockery with no facts, just not to make a single concession that can help that man. That's your evidence.
This witness is now badgered and saying, you called it a mockery. She was asked for an opinion. She gave an opinion. If the counsel doesn't like the opinion, he should carry on, madam. Madam, I apologize. Sincerely. Milady, I apologize.
Yeah, that's fine.
He should carry on, milady.
That's fine.
But that question has now been answered.
Yes.
We should move on.
Yes, Mr. Roo, I really think you have exhausted this.
Oh, thank you. I've made the point. Thank you. Madam. Taking you again back to the events, the parts that I'm going to deal with you. I'm going to invite your comment. You can make concessions or you can not do it. You're welcome. I dealt with him opening the sliding door and screaming for help. And you heard a man screaming for help. Then what I say to you, on his version, there came the stage where this man, Mr. Pistorius, is in that bathroom with his cricket bat. It's his version. Realizing now the horrible events, realizing there's a problem with Reeva in that toilet. It's not fetched his bat to break open that door. That was a stage of heightened anxiety. It was the pinnacle, it culminated. And he was screaming. And what's important is this. He was standing in his bathroom where the bathroom window facing in the direction of your house was open. And he was screaming. He was absolutely anxious. What I put to you is when you heard that anxious screaming, why the sound would travel? It was because it was not in a locked toilet, not in a toilet with a closed window and a closed door, but it was in a bathroom with open window facing in your direction. And it was him screaming. Absolutely anxious. I take it, and you can answer that. Your answer is you heard a woman.
Milady, but shortly after the shouts died out. So
I'm coming to that point. Is that your only answer to that?
that's how I heard it. I heard the gunshots, and then slightly after that is the last time I heard the female.
What I want to say to you, get to your version. And we have consulted with medical experts, but I didn't have to, because we have the ballistic expert of the state when he spoke about, and when he will speak about, but when he spoke about his statement about the shots. We know it was 4 shots. And 2 things that I put to you. The total impact of that shot would not have allowed her to scream. I want to add one thing extra. In fact, the state witness tells us, Mr. Mangena, with the headshot, she would have dropped down immediately. And I will go on with the responses thereafter. That's what I put to you.
My lady, if Mr. Chris Mangena is quoted as saying, with the headshot she would have dropped down, can we just see that? Could that be shown in Chris Mangena's
Yes.
statement?
I would have hoped that the state had read his statements, but I'll show you.
No, it's only too fair that it's done, even for the court's benefit.
Yes, of course, my lady.
Yes.
For the court's benefit, I would do that.
Yes.
It is, I will read it, my lady. It is page 52, A74, paragraph 18.1.4. I read, when the other bullet hit and penetrates the left middle finger, her hand was most probably covering her head. The same bullet penetrated her head and fragmented on impact. Some fragments of this bullet were recovered during post-mortem in the head, and the other fragments exited and hit the wall at Mark G. After this wound was inflicted, the deceased dropped immediately towards the right side with her head on top of the toilet seat.
Milady, I think. Excuse, mag ek
Yes, before you answer that, Mr. Nell.
My lady, that should be read. One should start earlier. One has now taken one paragraph. One should start earlier. And that's been my issue with cross-examination from the start. Let's start earlier. I know that's in there, but earlier it says, the first bullet hit the deceased in the right thigh. So the second bullet hit the wall, mark F. It missed. The third bullet hit the deceased as she was still seated position on the magazine stand, and that was a bullet, the one in the shoulder. The fourth bullet hit her in the head. She then died. That's it. If that is good, then I don't have a problem. But it should be as it was said.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Roux.
I have 3 answers, my lady. The one is, it is there what I put. The second one is, we will debate the sequence of the bullets. That's not important now. And I've also put as part of the sentence that I consulted medical specialists, and the state has as post-mortem, that there was serious brain damage. And our evidence will be that a person with that brain damage will have no response, no cognitive function, no thought process. That's all coming in. That's what I put to this witness. And that will be coupled to the evidence of the accused, what he found and whether there was any response and all the events. So all I put to this witness, when you talk about the screaming, whatever interpretation after the last bullet, it cannot be on our case, on the expert witnesses, it cannot be. She could not have screamed.
Milady, as I stated yesterday, I heard her voice just after the last shot. It faded away. As I also stated yesterday, it could have been with the last shot. With the last shot, she shouted. The shot goes, she's shouting the same time. Her voice carries. It was just afterwards was the last time I heard her.
Yes. All I put to you there is this. Both you and your husband talk about 1, or you said 2, and 1 to 2 seconds after the last shot. That's quite some time. The last scream, 1 to 2 seconds after the last shot. And all I do, you can disagree. All I say to you that we will present evidence that A, there was no such scream, and B, there could not have been such scream.
Milady, I stated in my statement, ongeveer, approximately 2 seconds. So it could have been a half second, 1 second, 2 seconds. As I stated before, I wasn't there with the stopwatch.
Yes. What I also put to you, that on the reliability, on your version, with reference to what you termed as the increase in trepidation, in anxiety, on your version, all you had was a moment before the shots to hear it, then shots that would mask, on the very least on your version, the emotions and the sound of the screaming. And on your version, it happened when Reeva was inside a toilet with a closed toilet door and a closed window. That's what I say. What do you say to that?
Lady, as I stated before, the emotions that I heard that were very intense, the climax of the emotions were just before the shots.
That's all I say. We know it was moments. You described it as very short moments. You were able, I just try to understand what you're saying to the court. You were able, 177 meters away, on your version, to interpret 3 things, because I've looked them up. The one is emotion in her voice, increased intensity, fear to the extent that you could hear she was really threatened. All in that moment, on your version, before the shot, that moment, when she was, we know, on your version, in a locked toilet with a closed window. That's your version.
Yes, my lady, moments, as I said, moments before the shots, I heard her terrible screams. I could hear the emotion. And it's very quiet. Also, as I stated, in our area, I hear the jackals at night. Sound travels. That's my version.
Yes. What you did not hear a man crying out, in addition to screaming.
I only heard a man calling for help. That's
I
all.
remember when I read you the other statements,
Yeah.
you did not hear a man crying out loudly.
My lady, that's correct. I did not hear a man.
You did not hear screaming when you focused on the cell phone.
No, I was focusing to phone there. Yeah.
You did not hear screaming when you focused on the cell
Correct.
phone. Easy.
Yes.
Yes. You did not hear, on his version, a cricket bat hitting a door.
Lady, that's correct. I did not hear the cricket
Man,
bat.
I put it to you that you made up your mind that his version could not be. You interpreted cricket bat shots to be gunshots and a screaming to be a woman screaming and not the accused. And if you didn't do that, his version would have made sense.
But lady, I don't see how that could make sense. I've never heard a cricket bat, but my brother once kicked the door down as a child doing karate, and I heard that. It was loud, but it wasn't a gunshot. What I heard was gunshots.
You're standing next to your brother.
I was in the passage. We were doing karate, so he was running and he jumped.
Not 177 meters away.
No.
Did he break the door?
Yes, and there was a hole in the door.
Is his would you say that the cricket bat, the hard wood, would be the same as his kicking?
I'm not an expert at that, sir, but gunshots are very loud. Bashing a door for me is not so loud.
At that pace.
Looks like the prosecutor got over it as well. Let's see what he says.
Madam, just one or two things. Do you know how heavy a cricket bat would be?
My brother used to have a cricket bat, so I've played with a cricket bat before.
And you played hockey, am I right?
No, I'm more into netball. I was into netball.
Oh, sorry. Now, if you think about your brother's cricket bat, and you want to break down a door, how would you do that? How would you do that?
How would I break down the door?
Yeah, with a cricket bat.
Lady, I would take the bat and I would swing it back and I would hit.
So you'll swing the bat back and you hit the door.
Yes, if I wanted to try
And if you want to hit it again,
I would take it back again and
hit it again.
It's now the
You wanna hit it
prosecutor.
again?
I would try and do the same thing again, over and over.
Just explain to us the shots you heard. How was the sequence?
It was bang, 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 bang.
So,
It was a
madam,
longer.
with this bang, 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 would it have been possible for somebody to wield a cricket bat at that pace?
So you see this blue and red thing at the bottom? That is the amount I have to cut off. So now you know how big it is. It's very difficult to cover.
But we'll take a bat and hit it bang, bang, bang.
Oh no, not the second and the third and the fourth. I don't.
Not the second, the
I don't
third,
think
and the
so.
fourth. Then, madam, the statement you made. There are two things. The first thing first, your emotions at the time of the making a statement. How did you experience it?
It was quite raw still.
It was quite
Raw, the emotion.
a raw emotion. And would Captain van Aert have seen your emotions?
He witnessed it.
What did he witness?
It was awful to hear a shout before the shots.
Madam, I know that you're emotional now. This is almost done. I'm going to ask you one more question, and I also want to get you out of there. I really also want. So, how did you express your emotions when Captain van Aert took down the statement?
I told him everything I heard. And then I said to him, it's very difficult for me. When I'm in the shower, I relive her shouts.
You said to him that when you're in the shower, you relive the shouts.
The terrifying screams.
And now, how are you coping?
I'm coping fine. It's
Then,
been a year.
then the last issue, madam, when you made your statement, did you have in your hands or see your husband's statement?
I didn't hear that.
Did you have in your hands or see your husband's statement?
No, milady, I didn't.
I have nothing further.
Thank you very much.
What is that?
Someone said you had You did well. You did good.
Mrs. Berger, thank you very much for your assistance. You may step down.
Thanks, my lady.
It's the court, my lady. And it says, as I call the next witness is Estelle van der Merwe. Before the witness comes in, I seek the same order. We've put the name on the list of the witnesses that would not want to be televised and or still photographs taken and or published. And she is number 6, my lady, on the list of witnesses.
I might have a solution.
Yes, before you even swear the witness in. Hold on. Before you do that, I wish to make an order that no photograph of this witness may be televised or published in any form. Thank you very much. Yes, you may swear the witness in.
What is the name van?
Estelle van der Merwe.
Estelle van der Merwe was the name of the witness, my lady. If you enough was warm, the afterstory eat after night. Doesn't have any objection in taking the prescribed code. Dus voor wie dat als bindend op je geweten. Als het zo is, steek je rechterhand op en sê, zweer je dat die getuienis uit je gaan leveren, die waarheid gaan lees, die hele waarheid, niks anders als die waarheid niet. Steek je rechterhand op en sê, so help me God.
So help my God.
Witness is sworn in, my lady.
Thank you very much. You may be seated if you so wish. Yes, Mr. Nell.
As the court pleases, my lady. Madam, where do you live?
Mevrouw, waar is die woonachtig?
In Silverwoods, in 180.
In Silverwoods in 180.
Madam, the accused in this matter, Mr. Oscar Pistorius, did you know him?
Mevrouw, het jullie was gelegd voor je Oscar Pistorius gekend?
Nee.
No.
Have you ever met him?
Het jullie hem ooit ontmoet?
Nee.
No.
Madam, this court case is about an incident that happened on the evening of 13 to 14 February 2013. You know that?
Hulle sê die gebeurtenis is oor die voorval wat op die 13de na die 14de van Februarie plaasgevind het. Weet jy daarvan?
Ja.
Yes.
Now, on the 13th of February, who was at your house?
Op die 13de van Februarie, wie was by die huis?
Net my man en my kind en ek.
My husband, myself, and myself. Nie daar te praat nie.
And anything special happen on the evening of the 13th of February?
Is daar enigiets speciaals wat op die aan van die 13e van Februarie plaasvind?
Nee.
No.
So, at what time did you go to bed?
Hoe laat het die bed toe gegaan, mevrouw?
So 9 uur se kant.
Around 9 o'clock, my lady.
Did you
BRB.
say that you went to bed about 9 and your husband and child, what did they do?
En wat van die man en kind?
Hulle het ook gaan slaap.
They also went to bed.
Then something happened during that night.
Dat is iets wat gedurende die jaar plaasgevind het, nee?
Ja.
Yes.
Please tell the court what happened.
Sê asseblief die hof wat het plaasgevind.
Ek het die oggend 1:56 wakker geword
Just a moment.
56. Ja.
met geluide wat klink soos iemand wat hard praat of wat beklei.
My lady, I woke up around 1:56 in the morning. I heard sounds. It seemed like somebody was involved in a fight on the Pretoria or what.
Laat praat.
And these people are talking in loud voices, my lady.
Dit aanhou vir ongeveer 'n uur.
It lasted for about an hour.
Ek kon nie hoor wat die persoon sê
I couldn't hear what this person was saying.
en ek kon ook nie die hoor wat se taal die persoon praat nie.
And I also couldn't understand in what language this person was talking.
Relax. Sorry, my lady. The witness is terribly tense. May I just get her to relax, madam? Madam,
Please relax. Take your time.
That helps.
You sure you can do that?
I'll be able to make it, my lady.
Madam, let's carry on. You said it lasted for about an hour. That's
Okay, ons gaan voer dat het op ongeveer 'n uur gedurende.
Okay, everybody needs to hold tight a minute because I need to close this. I'm going to be switching you over to this other computer. Nothing like the judge telling you, please relax, to relax you, right? I think I found a solution for the banner. So now I had exported and started uploading for day 3. And then I found the solution. So I deleted that upload and started again. And now it's taking a little while. But I think I have something we can work with.
You sure you can do that?
Sorry. Now I know you've got audio. Wow, Vicky Mac, good job. I need to see what you're seeing. That's the problem. Okay, I'm going to say stop sharing. And here I need to say present, share screen. Day 1 and 2, share. Okay. And then I think I have to fix the subtitles on here as well. I think I had them at 75. Okay. Okay, now I need to figure out Everybody, cross your fingers. I need to see if I can leave the studio on the 1. In fact, I'm going to add myself to stage here. Okay, everybody. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Are we still good? Still here? I know this isn't the ideal camera and mic. But now I need to know if we're all good. All good. Amazing. That was smart. I'm muted. As I said, I'm going to mute. I'm going to mute, stop my camera, put this on, move myself, carry on.
I'll be able to make it, my lady.
Madam, let's carry on. You said it lasted for about an hour. That's
Okay, ons gaan voeren dat het op ongeveer een uur gedurende doet.
Before you go on, how did you experience it? What did you do?
Voor het gaan, hoe het u dat ervaren? Wat heb u gedaan?
Ek was baie geïrriteerd daarmee want ek moes slaap, my seentjie sou begin het met eksamen.
Okay. My lady, I was irritated by that because I was supposed to go, I was supposed to sleep, seeing that my boy was supposed to sit for his exams shortly.
Yeah. So you said you were irritated by it, and what did you do?
En wat het u daarmee gedoen toe u geïrriteerd was?
Ek het maar net soms een keer 'n kussing op my kop gesit met die hoop dat ek weer kan slaap.
At some stage, I placed a pillow on top of my head with the hope of falling asleep once more or again, my lady.
Op 'n stadium het ek opgestaan om te kyk of ek iets kan sien.
At some stage, I woke up, being under the impression that I wanting to see if there is something that I could see.
Maar ek het uitgekyk aan die kant van farm in.
But I looked out towards the side of farm in.
Ek het niks gesien nie en ek het weer teruggeklim in die bed.
Still I couldn't see anything, my lady. I then went back to bed again.
Om ongeveer 3 uur se kant het ek 4 klokgeluide gehoor.
And around about 3 o'clock in the morning, I heard 4 gunshots. 4 gunshots, my lady.
Plof is thud sounds, not gunshots. She said plofgeluide. It's interpreted gunshots. It's really not.
I don't know how to call it.
I do not know what to call it, my lady. As the witness says, she says she also doesn't know what to call it.
I agree with Mr. Peru that what was said was plofgeluide.
More like bomb shots.
Floating sound.
Explosion shots, something like that, my lady. Because the witness also says she doesn't know what to refer them to.
Madam,
let's just get it, sorry.
It's plofgeluide is a thud. THUD. It's not an explosive sound.
Yes, Mr. Nat.
But I'll carry on.
Yes, but shouldn't we be clear what the witness is trying to say?
I will clear that up.
Yes.
I think with more questions we could perhaps clear that up. Madam, please explain the best you can what you heard. The 4 sounds. What was it?
Mevrou, probeer asseblief die beste om dit mooi te verduidelik. Watter tipe geluide was dit wat u gehoor het?
Ek het van Mike gevra, Mike van haar gevra klink wat is die beste naam om te beskryf?
My lady, I inquired from Mr. Mike van Ark as to how can I best explain the sound I heard.
En hy het my gesê dis klopgeluide.
And he said it was more like thud shots.
But that's fine. Tell us what you told him, Captain Fart. What did you do?
Sê ons wat u hom gesê het. Wat het u vir Kaptein van Ark gesê?
Ek het hom gesê ek het 4 geluide gehoor wat ek weet nie hoe om dit te beskryf
Okay.
nie.
I told him that I had 4 sounds, but I do not know how to describe them.
En hy het vir my gesê jy noem dit klokgeluide.
And he said to me, you call them fat shots.
Now, the 4 shots you heard, if you sit now and think back, what did you hear?
Die 4 gelede wat jy gehoor het, as jy nou sit en terug drink. Wat was het?
Bedoel,
Watter tipe gelede was het?
What did you hear?
Wat het jy gehoor?
dit
Just tell the court what you heard.
Stel jy op, wat het jy gehoor?
dit klink soos hoe moet ek tipe geluid beskryf?
It sounded like, do you want me to describe
Yes,
the sound?
if you can.
As jy dit kan doen, mevrou.
Bang bang.
Bang, bang, as she
Dis die
says it,
beste
my
wat ek
lady.
kan.
That's the best I can do.
Now, I know it goes back a long while, and I just want you to, if you can, to explain to the court if you heard the sounds. You said bang bang. Carry on and just tell us the 4 sounds in the sequence that you heard. What did it sound like?
Sê ons nou al verduidelik nou in die manier hoe jy die geluide gehoor het.
Dit van waar ek gelê het, het dit nogal kort op mekaar geklink.
From where I was sleeping, my lady, they were shortly one after the other.
Good. Now, the arguments that you heard, or the voices, let me rather say, the voice you heard, what happened to that?
Wat het van die stemme geword wat jy gehoor het?
Nadat ek die skote gehoor het,
After hearing the 4 sounds,
dit was absolute stilte.
there was total silence, my lady.
What happened then after that?
Wat het daarna plaasgevind?
Nadat ek die 4 skote gehoor het, het ek ek hoor my man word wakker.
After I had the 4 shots, I had my husband waking up.
Ek het hom gevra wat maak so en hy het vir my gesê dit is geweerskote.
I then asked him what was doing that. My lady, I'll put it literally as a witness says it, and what say he?
Dit is geweerskote.
He then said those were firearm sounds, or gunshots, to be more precise, my lady.
Yes, and what happened then?
En toe wat het daarna gebeur?
My man het toe opgestaan en hy het by die venster gaan uitkyk,
My husband then woke up, he then looked out of the window,
maar hy het niks gesien nie.
but he couldn't see anything.
Hy het toe teruggeklim in die bed.
He then went back to bed.
Hy het toe ons 'n commotion gehoor
We then had a commotion, as she says it in English, my lady.
en ekskuus.
No, please relax. Take your time. It's really important that we get your version.
Vat maar net die tyd, dis baie belangrik wat ons hier weergawe van die woorde.
Are you fine?
Sal jy kan
May I just ask the witness if she's fine, my lady?
Yes.
Is you right?
May I just ask the witness
Yes,
if she's
yes,
still
yes,
fine?
Yes.
Is you right?
Are you fine?
She says she's fine, my lady.
Okay. So you heard a commotion and what then?
Okay, toe
My
hoor jy
man
nou
het
die
die
commotion.
sekuriteit geskakel om te hoor wat aangaan.
My husband then called the security just to hear as to what was happening.
Ek kan nie mooi onthou wat die tye wat ek kan nie meer die tyd onthou nie en ek kan nie mooi onthou wat toe daarna gebeur het maar
Okay.
voor
My lady, I can't recall the exact time anymore and as to what happened afterwards. But shortly after that,
toe hoor ek iemand wat baie hard huil.
I then heard somebody who was crying out loud.
Okay, you heard somebody crying.
Ek hoor iemand heel hard en toe.
Ek het my man gevra wie huil so
I then asked my husband as to who was crying like that.
en hy het vir my gesê dis Oscar.
He then said it was Oscar.
Want dit het vir my geklink soos 'n vrou se stem.
Because to me it seemed like a woman's voice.
Ek
Did your husband ever leave the room?
Het die man uit die kamer uitgestap?
ek kan nie onthou nie.
I really can't remember.
Now, let us just go back. We'll carry on from here. You said you heard a voice that irritated you.
Jy sê dit as stem gehoor wat jy irriteer.
Now, were you able to say if that was a man or a woman's voice?
Was jy in staat om te kan hoor of wat 'n vrou of 'n
Just
man
hold on
sê?
once, I'm not sure.
A man or a woman's voice, lady.
The voice that irritated her.
That irritated her, yes. That you heard before the shooting. Before the
She didn't say voices.
Daai nie voice.
One voice.
one voice.
Thank you. Thank you.
A woman's stem. My lady, I just said a woman's voice.
Yeah.
Moet ek
Yes,
aangaan?
yes,
Maar
please
dat
do.
was
Op die stadium het ek opgestaan en ek het uit die venster gaan uitkyk en ek het baie voertuie
Okay, at some stage, I also got up, proceeded towards the window, looked through the window, and saw many vehicles.
en 'n ambulans voor Oscar se huis. En 'n ambulans voor Oscar se huis.
As well as an ambulance in front of Oscar's house.
My man het later die oggend vir die sekuriteit geskakel en hulle gehoor wat gaan aan.
My husband called the security company late in the morning, just to ascertain from them as to what was happening.
En hulle het hom gesê Oscar het sy vriendin geskiet.
That's when they told him that Oscar shot his friend.
Madam, there's a file in front of you. You just open that at Exhibit F. You'll see it's marked in red
In red.
on the side.
Oh. Yes, sir.
And in Exhibit F, would you please page to slide 920, 920.
What was that?
Madam, that's an aerial photograph. Are you able to identify your house on it?
Yes.
Can you see him?
Ja.
Yeah.
Which one is that?
What one is it?
180.
The 181, my lady.
They would, yeah, where it's written 180, is that yours?
Was it 280? Yeah.
And the accused house,
En die is gelaten zijn?
287. Ja.
The 371.
Nee, dis nie hy nie. Enterprise nie. Ek weet nie of dit
No, it's not 387, my lady. With the arrow pointed towards the house. It's Oscar's house.
is that his house?
As I say, yes.
Did you know you were staying in that house?
Heb je
that
geweet, die
evening?
Breda?
Ja.
Yes.
Would you turn to photograph 933? Can you recognize that?
Heb je niet gelezen, hoor? Yes.
What is that?
Wie zei ze dat?
Dis ons huis.
Our house.
And 934?
Yes.
What is that, man?
Wat is it?
Dit is die balkon van ons huis.
This is the balcony of our house.
And the little red arrow, what does that indicate?
Dis Oscar se huis.
This is Oscar's house, Marie.
And 935?
Dis Oscar se huis.
Oscar's house.
with the arrow.
Ja,
And the balcony?
In the balcony.
dis ons huis.
Our house.
Now, you were inside the house and in the main bedroom
He was
when you
gonna
heard the
be in
voice.
die slaapkamer toe hierdie stemme gehoor het. Yes.
And do you have windows in your bedroom?
Was daar vensters in die slaapkamer?
Ja,
Yes.
Were they open or closed?
Was dit toe of oop?
ek kan nie vir jou sê nie wat my man maak dit oop.
My lady, I can't respond to that question because my husband is the one who opens and closes the windows.
Now, after this incident, did it happen that you've heard voices at night again?
Na die voorval het dit gebeur dat die weer stemme gedurende die aand gehoor het.
I'm so sorry to object. It's not my style. I'm worried about the question that happened that you had voices again. Whilst I understand the corrected evidence was that you had a voice. So I failed to link the voices again to any evidence. There was incorrectly stated voices, but it was corrected.
I will be careful and I'll rephrase. After this incident, did you hear a voice
Na die voorval het jy 'n stem gehoor
at night again?
in die aand.
En dit net, jy praat nie nou van enige ander tyd?
Yes.
Are
Any
you
other?
referring to any other time? Ja.
Ja,
Yes, I did.
When was that?
En wanneer was dit?
ek het die oggend van die 21ste Februarie het ek wakker geword. Ek het nie op die horlosie gekyk van
Oh.
man se horlosie.
On the morning of the 21st of February, I woke up in the morning. I didn't look at the watch, want die man het nie horlosie gehad.
Ja, hy sê dan maar.
Because the watch was in my husband's possession.
En daar was 'n sy voor sy klokhorlosie was sy waterbottel.
And next to his stock, there was a water bottle.
Ek het iets geklink wat klink soos mans wat hard praat of beklei.
I had voices, male voices. It seems as they were talking loud, and it seemed as if they were involved in a fight.
Ek het uitgekyk aan die kant van Farm In.
I looked towards the side of the family.
Ek het niks gesien nie
I couldn't see anything.
en ek het omgestap na die kant van waar Oscar se huis is.
I don't proceeded towards the side where our car was situated.
En ek het deur die venster gekyk en ek het ligte aangesien by Oscar se huis.
I looked through the window. That's when I saw lights at Oscar's house.
En dit was donker, so ek is nie seker oor die voertuig nie, maar dit gelyk soos 'n wit SUV wat voor die huis staan.
It was dark, my lady, but I'm not sure about, is nie seker hoe dit clearly, about the color of the motor vehicle, but it seemed like a white SUV. Waar was het geparkeerd?
Voor Oscar se huis.
Standing next to Oscar's house.
Dit het geklink soos twee persone wat met mekaar argumenteer.
It seemed like two persons who were arguing with each other.
Ek is dit het nie vir baie lank aangehou nie,
Well, it didn't last for very long,
maar ek het besluit ek gaan voor die venster staan en kyk of ek iemand sien.
but I decided that I'll go and stand next to the window just to see if I can see a certain person or a person.
Ek het 'n manspersoon sien die sy huis verlaat
I then saw a male person leaving his house
en ek het weer teruggeklim in die bed.
and then went back to bed again.
Man, you said it was the 21st of February, am I
He
right?
said it was op die 21ste van Februarie.
Ja.
Yes, in the morning.
If you say in the morning, were you still sleeping?
Was hy nog steeds geslaap? Was hy in die oggend?
Ja, ek het wakker geword van die stemme.
He's the voices woke me up, my lady.
Now, you said 21st of February of which year?
Watter jaar was het?
2014,
2014. Van jaar,
hierdie jaar.
dat was hier.
On this particular, on the first instance in 2013, how many voices did you hear of how many people?
Op die eerste voorval wat in 2013 plaatsvond, hoeveel stemmen heb je gehoord?
Net eers.
Only one.
And you've already identified, I just want to make sure, and was that a male or a female voice?
Was het een vrouw of een mansstem?
Vrouwenstem.
It was a female's voice.
And the 21st of February 2014, you heard, was it the male or a female voice?
En op die 21 van februari was het een vrouw of mansstem. It was male person's voices.
Now, on the first occasion, 14 February 2013, did you know where that voice were coming from?
Op die 13e heeft hij geweet waar vandaan en hij stem vandaan komt. No.
Yep. But in February 2014, you know where it came from.
Maar in wie waar vandaan dat komt het die jaar niet.
Ja.
Yes.
And it came from?
Waar vandaan? From Oscar's house.
Now, Madam, I just want us to just go back and just think about the voice you heard. 2013. You said you heard it from what time?
Hoe laat ongeveer was het jullie stem gehoord?
Van 1:56 af toe ek wakker geword het.
From around 1:56 when I woke up, my lady.
Can you explain to the court what you heard? Was it talk and a stop, talk and a stop, or how did you experience it? What did you hear?
Was het een gepratery en een gestoppery en een gepratery? Wat heb je gehoord?
Dit was ek het
Yeah, no,
Just a
please.
minute.
dit was gepraat en gestop en gepraat en gestop. Het was nie aanhoudend.
Okay. This person was talking, stopping, talking, and it wasn't continuously.
Dit het vir my geklink van waar ek geleë het soos twee persone wat met mekaar in 'n argument is.
To me, from where I was sleeping, my lady, it seemed like two people who were involved in an argument.
Maar een persoon se stem kon ek nie hoor.
But I couldn't hear the other person's voice.
Now, in 2013, when you now heard the voices and your husband woke up, did you tell him what you heard?
Nou, in 2013, toe die stemme gehoor het, toe die man nou wakker word, het hy hom gesê wat hy gehoor het?
Nee, onmiddellik nie.
No, not immediately, my lady.
Did you later?
Later?
Ek het hom later daarvan vertel omdat ek nie geweet het waar vandaan die
Oh. I told him later about that because I didn't know where those voices were coming from.
You said you knew that it was Mr. Oscar Pistorius' house. How did you know that?
He said that as he was at Pistorius, he's with you.
want hy
You're talking about which date now?
In 2013, my lady.
Okay.
In 2013.
want ek het altyd daar uitgetrek met sy BMW en ek altyd vriendelik gegroet.
Because he always drove out in his white BMW and he greeted us in a friendly manner.
Well, I did, like yesterday, and I won't make a habit of it, but it's 10 to 1 again. And I'm bringing the exact same application I did yesterday, my lady. If we could perhaps stand down and start 10 minutes earlier after the break.
I take it there's no objection. Court will adjourn.
I apologize for that, my lady. I did this.
Yes, Mr. Pistorius.
Sorry, I'm late.
That's fine. Please take a seat. You're still under oath, man?
Is nog steeds aan het eten, vrouw? Yes, my lady.
As a piece of court, my lady. Madam, I have two more issues. Now, the first is, apart from the 4 sounds, noises you've heard, did you hear any other?
No.
No.
You testified about the voice of a woman you heard.
Ik vertel hoe die stem van die vrouw wat ik hoor het nee.
Did you hear any screams by any?
Het enige geluid of geschreeuw gehoor.
Glad nie.
Not at all.
Thank you, my lady. I have nothing further.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Roux?
Thank you, my lady. Mrs. van der Merwe, is it Mrs.?
Is dat mijn juffrouw of mevrouw? Mevrouw.
I start with the events that you referred to of the 21st of February this year.
Je zei ons we gaan met die gebeurtenissen wat op 21 van februari van het jaar plaatsvond.
Where you heard, I think, 2 male voices.
Daar waar je 2 manstemmen gehoord.
I'll tell you what it was all about.
Sê ons waaroor was dat?
I'll tell you.
Okay, jy sal nie sê. Okay.
We did tests of a woman and a man screaming as loud as they could in the bedroom.
Hy sê hulle toetse gedoen oor 'n man en vrou wat hardop geskree het in die slaapkamer.
To determine how far sound would travel.
Net om vas te stel hoe ver stemme kan gaan.
2 to 3 in the morning.
Ongeveer 2 en 3 uur in die oggend.
And what's interesting, and I'll come to that in relation to your house, you could not hear the screaming.
Jy sê wat van belang is, maar jy kom nog na daai punt. Jy kon nie iemand hoor gewoon nie. No.
Yes. And you know why it is?
Jy sê weet jy hoekom was dit? Of was dit?
I went to where your house is, where all of us, and to where Mr. Pistorius' house is. And if you accept what I say, it's fine, then I don't have to demonstrate it. But from your balcony, his bedroom and his balcony door and the bathroom even, all of them are right on the opposite side of the house. So the part of the house of Oscar Pistorius that you're looking at, that's the front side. The bedroom's right on the other side, with the bedroom opening, the balcony opening on the side far away, furthest away from your house. Is that correct?
I don't know.
I do not know.
Yes, because you don't know the house inside. I just put it as your dad's house. That's why you won't hear, because you're on the wrong side, number 130.
Is dat die rede waarom u nie kon hoor nie, want u was aan die verkeerde kant van die plek, van die huis?
Dis moontlik.
It's possible, my lady.
Now that evening, and I take you back not to confuse you, Mrs. van der Merwe.
We apologize for the interruption, my lady. The court orderly was just telling us that the witness must just get closer to the microphone because it seems as if your voice can't be recorded properly. Sorry for the interruption.
Mrs. van der Merwe, that night, and I have nothing to say that you could not sleep, I accept that.
Yeah,
and you were awake.
That's what we can say oor hier betrokke aan dat u nie kon slaap nie.
And I accept that around about 2 o'clock you were awake.
Hy sê en hy aanvaar dat hy ongeveer 2 en 3 uur oggend alreeds wakker was, nie? Yes.
But I want to ask you something and then confirm to me if it's correct or incorrect what I'm reading to you.
Maar hy sê wel jy iets vra, jy moet sê wat reg of nie reg is nie. Die wat hy vir u gaan uitlees.
I woke up.
Is hy wakker geword?
I looked at a clock watch and I saw that it was 1:56.
Ek na die horlosie gekyk te sien dit is 1:56.
Would that be a fair reflection of what you say?
Yes.
Yes.
And then I'm going to read the Afrikaans and ask you about it. Ek het 'n vrouestem gehoor, maar kon nie die woorde of taal hoor nie. I heard the voice of a female, but could not hear the words or the language.
That is correct.
If anything is incorrect, what you heard that evening, please tell me, will you? If it differs from what I'm reading.
Yeah, I will.
Dit was ver van ons huis af. It was far from our house.
Dis reg. That is correct. Jy moet dit hardop praat want hulle sê die stem neem nie op nie, asseblief tog.
What we do know let me ask you, not to be unfair. Is it not correct, Ms. van der Merwe? It was not that you hear a continuous talking and a non-stop talking. That's not correct.
Yeah. That is correct, nee?
Yeah.
Yes.
There would be a female voice and then it would be quiet for periods and then you would hear a female voice again.
Jy sê jy kan na veel mense stem hoor dan is dit stil vir 'n lang ruk, dan hoor jy weer die vrou se stem.
You did not time the intervals to say, well, this one was 5 minutes and this one is 20 minutes.
En jy kon nie tel vir hoe lank dit was nie. No.
There were shorter intervals and there were longer intervals.
Daar was korttermyne en langtermyne.
Yeah.
Yes.
I get the impression, and you can help me, that before you heard the shots, there was a interval, a silent period, and then it was disturbed by the, whatever you call it, the force, thud, 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 or the shots.
Jy sê voor jy die skote hoor, dit was daar lank stilte. Voor jy die skote kan hoor, nee.
Ek kan nie dit meer mooi onthou nie. Dit was 'n bietjie lank terug.
So what?
My lady, I just can't remember correctly anymore because it's quite some time ago.
So what you say, you can't say that before the shots, if there was a long period of silence or not.
Yeah.
Is that what you say? Yes, that is correct.
It follows that you can't say for some period before the shots that it was talking. It must follow. It's the same thing.
Please repeat your question.
Of course I will. I'm sorry. if you can't say whether there was for a short or a long period before the, let's call it the shooting, to make it easy. Let's refer to the shooting, the shots, let's call it that.
Hy sê kom ons verwys na dit as die geskietery.
You did not hear the female voice.
Ek het nie die vroumens stem gehoor nie, nee.
Now, sorry, the question was a bit different. You said to me that you cannot say, you can't remember before the shooting whether there was a long period of silence, of meaning not hearing a female voice or not. You can't remember.
Dit sal ek nie kan onthou nie.
Dis korrek.
It means if you can't remember that, you can also likewise not say that before the shots there was a female's voice.
As dit so. Excuse me. Repeat yourself again.
You cannot say shortly before the shots you heard a female voice. Shortly before.
Jy sal nie kan sê dat kortliks na die skote het jy 'n vroumens stem gehoor nie.
Nee.
No, I can't say that.
Yes. In fact, what sounded to you when you heard this noise on and then for periods not talking or not, because it's not talking that you hear a voice far away without, you cannot make out language, you cannot make out words, but it must have sounded to you if it was coming from the farm in direction, because that's your first instinct to walk there and see who would be talking, what would it be, to go in that direction where you hear it from. Not so.
Can you rephrase, please?
She says, please rephrase the question.
I'm sorry, it's too long. At some point, we don't know when, you got up and you walked to the farm inside.
Hy sê op 'n sekere tydstip of kon
Ja.
jy opgestaan en na 'n sekere rigting in die huis en
To see if you could not see anything.
net om vas te stel of jy nie enigiets kan sien nie.
Is that right?
As dit so.
Dis korrek.
Dit is correct.
And it would only make good sense to me that if you get up to see what it is, you would walk and look in a direction where you hear the voice coming from.
Ja, dat sal maar net sin maak. Sê nou maar as jy miskien stemme of geraas hoor, sal jy na die rigting toe stap waar jy dit vandaan gehoor het of wat sê ek nie.
Ek het geen idee gehad waar dit vandaan gekom het nie.
I had no idea where that noise was coming from.
So ek het maar gaan kyk aan die kant. Ek was te bang om te stap aan die ander kant om my man wakker te maak.
I just went to look from the other side. I was scared to walk around the other side to go and wake up my husband.
And the farm inside is to the south of your house.
Dis na die suidelike
It's the
rigting.
opposite side of Oscar's house.
Die teenoorgestelde rigting van die suidelike rigting. Yes.
The fact is, you never heard any arguing.
Ek geen argument gehoor nie.
All, let me put it to you again, take you back. All you heard was, I'm reading it again, 'n vroue stem, maar ek kon nie die woorde of taal hoor nie. I'll translate it. Dit was ver van ons huis af. You heard a woman's voice. You could not hear the words or the language spoken, and it was far from your house. That is what you heard.
Is dit wat jy gesê het?
Ja, dis wat ek gesê het.
Dis waar hy sê het.
Maar ek moet sê ek ken 'n vrou se stem.
But I must say that I know a woman's voice.
En as dis gewoonlik in 'n vrou se stem waar daar baie buige beweging is.
And there's many movements within a woman's voice.
Wanneer ons kwaad raak.
Especially when we become angry or cross my lady.
But here it's far away. You can't hear words. You can't hear language.
Maar op die stadium is dit ver van waar jy is, want jy kan nie die woorde hoor nie en ook nie die taal nie.
Is eerlike waarheid sê ek weet nie van watter rigting af dit gekom het nie. Want ek het nie die moeite gedoen om eintlik uit te vind nie, want ek moes slaap.
Okay. To tell the honest truth, my lady, I do not know from which direction those sounds were coming from because I was trying by all means to
In that area,
fall asleep.
you can hear there's a game park. You can hear hyenas,
Dis 'n
jackal.
park daar waar jy bly nie.
Have you ever heard of there?
I've never, only a lion.
A lion. And we all do it from time to time when you battle to sleep at some point in time to cut out all noises, you put the pillow on your head.
Ek sê elke slag wanneer jy
There's
nie aan die
nothing
slaap kan
strange
raak,
about
jy vat die atlas en sit dit op die kop nie, sodat jy aan die slaap kan raak.
Dis reg.
Weet jy sorry wat jy doen?
Now, to take the one point that I'm making to the next level, and it's this. You did not, when you heard the sounds that your husband told you were gunshot sounds, you did not say to him, but hang on, those gunshot sounds followed an argument. Not, he was talking to you, you didn't tell him that.
Op die stadium het jy met die man gepraat, toe jy gesê dat geweerskote, het jy nie gesê dat die skote aflopig is van 'n argument wat plaasgevind het nie.
Nee, ek het nie.
No idea dan.
If you really believed that morning when you spoke to your husband that there was any connection between that voice and the gunshots, you would have told your husband that morning already.
So jy raai al van glo dat daar enige koneksie is tussen die stemme wat jy gehoor het en die skote, dan sou jy iemand daarvan gesê het, nee.
That morning.
Daai oggend.
Omdat ek nie seker was waar dit vandaan gekom het nie, het ek besluit om liewer stil te niks te sê van my man nie.
Because of the fact that I wasn't sure as from which direction those sounds were coming from, that's the reason why I decided to say nothing to my husband.
But what is important, that after, let's call it the shots, and I want to use your words, I heard someone crying out loudly.
Jy sê ek het gehoor iemand hard, heel hard op.
Dis reg, ja.
Very sorry.
Dis reg, ja.
Correct. Ek het hard op praat.
And it sounded to you like a woman's voice, a woman crying out loudly.
Asof wat 'n vrou mens stem is wat hard op hy.
Dis korrek.
Dit is korrek.
But your husband knows Oscar.
Maar die man ken mos Oscar nie.
Ek weet nie, my man het nooit met my gesê of hy al ooit met Oscar gepraat het of nie.
Well, I do not know because my husband never told me whether he wants to go to Oscar or not.
Ekskuus, ek het my verkeerd uitgespreek. My man het vir my gesê hy het met Oscar al gepraat.
Sorry, Josh, my husband once told me that he once spoke to Oscar.
Maar hy het my nooit vir my gesê waaroor nie.
But he never told me what about.
I'm sorry, Malay.
Sorry.
It's not once. It's. Can you just repeat? I didn't say een keer. Hy het al met Oscar gepraat.
Hy het al met Oscar gepraat, ja.
He spoke to Oscar, Josh, but didn't tell me what about me.
Ja, nee, no, that's correct.
Very correct.
It's not only once they cross the street, not directly across, but they talk about cars, he tells me. They had a couple of conversations.
En hy sê, is nie net eenmaal nie. Hulle praat oor algemene dinge.
Ek weet nie.
Well, I do not know about that. Do not know.
And your husband told you when you asked him, he said it's Oscar crying there. That's Oscar's voice.
En jou man, jy gesê is Oscar wat hy in die sy stem.
Dis korrek.
That is correct.
And what happened after that? Did you hear the vehicles coming?
En wat het daarna gebeur toe jy nou die karre gehoor aanry kom?
Ons het maar net 'n commotion gehoor en ek het by die venster, ek kan net vir jou dit ek kan nie baie mooi onthou nie want ek het maar net 'n commotion gehoor.
I just heard a commotion. I can't say more about that too.
En ek het 'n ambulans toe gesien, dit is maar basies al.
And I also saw an ambulance as well, and that's basically all that happened.
Something that you mentioned that I want to ask you about, and maybe I misunderstood you, and you can correct me, of course. But I get the impression that after you heard the sounds like someone loudly crying, you also mentioned at some point in time that you have an inability to remember the events later on. Or did I miss that?
As ek weet ek dit gemis of as dit wat u gesê het.
Ek het dit is 'n jaar en 'n bietjie langer as 'n jaar terug wat die insident gebeur het. So dit is ek kan nie absoluut alles 100% onthou nie.
This incident happened more than a year ago, so I can't recall every detail of the incident clearly, my lady.
Can you say that after the crying, You heard the crying. Can you tell us what you were doing then after the crying?
Okay, na jy nou die
Hearing the crying.
die geheilery gehoor het, wat was jy besig om te doen? Toe die geheilery plaasgevind het.
Ek het nog gelê in die bed.
I was just lying in bed.
Ek het groot geskrik. En ek het regop gesit. Dis basies al wat ek gedoen het.
I was terribly frightened. Toe opgesit. I then sat up straight in bed.
And then?
En toe?
Ek kan nie onthou nie.
I can't remember anymore. It's long ago.
You heard at some stage, you saw the vehicle, you saw ambulance in front of Oscar's house.
Op 'n stadium het jy ambulans voor Oscar se huis gesien nie.
Dis korrek.
That is correct.
But you did not hear it coming. You just, at some stage when you looked through the window, you saw the ambulance.
Maar ek het gehoor toe dit nog aangery gekom het. Ek net maar net hierdie venster verloor. Toe sien jy die ambulans daar staan.
Dis korrek.
That is correct.
How old's your baby?
Hoe oud was die baba?
How old was he then?
Ekskuus tog?
Your baby, how old was your baby? Your
Hoe
child?
oud was uw kind op
Let's say
daai
baby, but maybe
Die seun wat
older.
van melding gemaakt het. Hoe oud was hy?
11 years old.
11 jaar, maar
Did he wake up?
Het hy opgestaan?
Nee.
No.
Did you perhaps go to him to see that he was okay? That,
Het hy na hom toe gegaan net om vas te stel of hy alright is? No.
did you go outside?
Het hy na buite toe gegaan?
Nee.
No.
Did you remain in the bedroom?
Het hy in die kamer bly staan? Yes.
Was it a sort of attitude when you heard this loud crying that you were scared and you thought, let me rather stay safe in my house?
Was het
I
nou
don't
die
know.
geheilery wat jy gehoor het dat jy besluit het om stil in die huis te sit?
Ek het so groot geskrik. Ek het nie geweet wat om te doen nie. Ek het myself letterlik lam geskrik.
I was literally frightened. I didn't even know what to do. I was even weak shaken, my lady.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the first part. Could you just repeat that?
I got
Just because I didn't hear now the reason.
I got a terrible fright. I didn't even know what to do at that stage. Sy het lam geword.
Did you say that
Van
you
die
were paralyzed?
geskrikkery.
Ja.
You were in that shock.
Ja.
Van skok.
Ja.
Yes.
It's as if you cut off from the world for a while.
Asof jy nou buite
Going that-
werking is.
Trying to understand.
Is dit wat jy
Nee, ek
dis
was
wat ek probeer om te verstaan.
nee, ek was nie ek het nie van die wêreld afgesny nie. Ek was maar net jy's lam gaan skrik. Jy skrik.
No, I wasn't cut out of the world. I was just weak because of shock, my lady.
And would that explain why you have a difficulty remember that part?
En sal dit nou
When you
verduidelik hoekom u nou 'n probleem het om
shock.
dat te kan onthou as gevolg van skok?
Dis moontlik, ek weet nie.
It's possible, but I do not know.
Goed te bear with me. Could you just bear with me, my lady? Thank you, my lady. I have no further questions.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
May it please the court. Madam, I have 4 issues. On the early morning of 14 February 2013, you heard a woman's voice and you looked out to which direction?
Van East direction.
On the 21st of February 2014, you heard voices and you looked out to which direction?
Van East direction and Oscar's house.
But the first when you heard it and you had to look out, you looked out to which direction?
Van in.
To Farming.
With respect, I'm not sure that this is re-examination. It's getting it to repeat the evidence. It's not the purpose of re-examination.
Well, it's done already. It's
Yes,
on-
I know, Malady,
on
I should,
record.
but that's not
Yeah,
re-examination.
but it is re-examination. It was a question about why she looked out at farm in.
Why she did what?
Why? It was put to her that she looked out to farm in because she didn't know. And that is what was covered as a book business.
Yes, yes, yes. I see what you mean.
Madam, you were saying, and you weren't given opportunity to build on it, that you know a woman's voice.
Ja, mevrouw heeft gesê jy ken haar stem nie.
Ja.
Yes.
And what did you want to say?
Wat wou jy gesê? Want dit lyk asof jy nie kans gewees om mooi uit te brei nie.
'n Vrou se stem is hoër as 'n man se stem. Maar
A man's voice is higher than a woman's voice is higher than a man's voice.
Yes.
'n man se stem is meer bas.
Yeah.
En
And a man's voice worship is more like of bass.
ja.
Yeah, there's more bass than a woman's.
En as 'n vrou opgewonde raak of dan is daar baie bewegings.
And if a woman gets excited or something of that sort, there are many movements within a woman's voice.
What did you hear?
Wat het jy gehoor?
Ekskuus, wanneer is dit nou?
No,
When now?
that when you heard the woman's voice, what
Op
did
die
you?
stadium toe jy die vroumens stem gehoor het.
Ek het baie beweging, op en af beweging en dit was nie 'n man se stem nie.
I had a lot of up and down movements within that voice. It wasn't a man's voice, my lady.
Want daar was 'n groot verskil in die 21ste wat ek wakker geword het en die oggend van die 14de.
Because there was a big difference between those 2 days, the 21st as well as the 13th of February, 14th of February, when I woke up, my lady.
Madam, I said there are 4 issues. The third issue. You, in a question, you answered that you didn't tell your husband the next morning that about the woman's voice. You.
Op 'n vraag het hy beantwoord en gesê hy het nie iets man gesê oor die vroumense wat gehoor het in die oggend nie.
Dis korrek.
Dit is korrek.
When did you tell him?
Wanneer het jy hom gesien?
Nadat ek gehoor het dat Oscar het sy vriendin geskiet.
After I learned that Oscar shot his girlfriend, my lady.
Then you told her.
To say he might. Yes.
Sorry, too many different places that I've got sound coming from. I just paused quickly because I need to do this. No, wrong one. Other one. Okay, I need to do this so that I can quickly minimize. I am going to take a chance. And I'm going to try to play the playlist. But here's what we're going to do. Steve, if it gets copyright, I need you to just try call me on WhatsApp so it cuts my audio or something, please. Okay. There's a little bug. There's a bug. And a bug dugger. Okay, because I'm going into a meeting now at 3, so 5 minutes. I have added a redirection. I can always pause. It's with a colleague / friend. So, yeah.
Madam, the fourth issue. You said that you were paralyzed with fear.
He said he was lam gestoord was gestaan van skok nie.
Dis korrek.
That is correct.
Why were you paralyzed?
Hoekom
What
was hy
shocked you?
paralyseer van skok?
Ek is nie gewoond aan ek het nog nooit 'n gewapenskoot gehoor nie. Dit was die heel eerste keer en omdat ek die persoon gehoor het wat so hard huil en ek nie geweet het wie dit was nie en ek nie geweet het wat die omstandighede was nie, het ek
That was because I never had a gunshot prior to that. And after hearing that person's voice, I really didn't know as to what was happening. And that's what shocked me.
Malay, I said the 4 issues, I'm done. That's
Thank you very much. Mrs. van der Merwe, thank you very much for your assistance.
U sê baie dankie dat u vir u help, né?
You may be excused.
U word net skoon, né? Baie. Thank you very much, my lady.
This witness is very relieved. May I call the next witness, Charles Johnson?
Do I make the same order? Do I make the
Indeed, my lady, I kindly request that the court makes the same order as far as this witness is concerned.
This is the order I make in respect of this witness who is about to give evidence. No photograph of him may be televised or published in any form.
As the court pleases, my lady.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Johnson.
Has he been sworn in?
Yeah, I am.
Die volle naam asseblief, meneer? Charles Peter Johnson. Charles Peter Johnson. Het u beswaar om die voorgeskrewe eed te neem? Ek nie. No objection to take the prescribed oath? Reg die regter aan en sê so help my God as die hele waarheid sal praat asseblief. So help my God. Swannie.
Court pleases.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, do you know the first witness in this matter, Michelle Berger?
Michelle Berger, ken jy die eerste getuie? Dis Michelle Berger in hierdie verhoor. Ken haar, is my vrou. I do know her. She's my wife.
And you live together in the Silver Stream estate, is that correct?
Julle woon saam daar by Silver Oak. Dit is korrek. Ons woon saam in Silver Stream landgoed. That is correct. We staying together, né?
What business are you in, Mr. Johnson?
Wat besigheid doen u, meneer Johnson? Switch over to English. I work as a IT project manager. My lady, the witness wishes to switch over to English.
My lady, may I kindly request that the witness would be fairly fluent in English. If he experiences a problem, if the interpreter could then assist.
No, that's fine. If you're comfortable with English, and you want to testify in English, you may do so.
Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, what business are you in?
I work as an IT project manager at an investment company called Citadel Investment Services.
We will have to speak up, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, a little louder than that.
Must I repeat?
Yes, please.
I work as an IT project manager at an investment company called Citadel Investment Services.
You're very soft.
I said I work as an IT project manager at a company called Citadel Investment Services.
Mr. Johnson, this matter deals with an incident that took place in the early hours of 14 February 2013. Do you know that?
Yes, I am aware of that.
Now, on the evening of 13 February 2013, were you at home?
Yes, we were at home.
You say we were at home. Who was with you?
It was my wife and I. It was a normal evening at home. If I can elaborate, I think we went to bed around 9, 10 o'clock that evening.
You'd have to try and speak louder. If I can't hear you from here, the chances are that no one else can hear you. Please try.
Should I repeat?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, as I said, my lady, it was a normal evening for us at home. We retired to bed around 9, probably between 9 and 10 that evening. So there was no, it was just a normal evening for us.
And then during the night and during the early hours of the next morning, an incident took place.
Yes.
Please tell the court what happened.
My lady, I woke up during the early mornings of the early morning hours on the 14th of February. I got woken up by the screams of a lady, a woman, and I remember after I woke up.
Just a moment. Yes.
After the first screams, I woke up. I lifted my head from the pillow to ensure that I heard correctly. And when I heard the lady scream again, I jumped out of bed and I ran to the balcony, which is on the first floor.
I didn't hear. After you jumped up, I didn't hear you.
After I jumped out of bed, I ran to the balcony. The balcony is on the first floor. It's approximately 10 meters from my bedside.
Mr. Johnson, it was not in dispute. Can you open the file in front of you at Exhibit F? It's marked in red at the side. And in Exhibit F, just turn to paragraph 921, or slide 921. Are you there?
Yes.
Kendrick, does that look familiar to you?
Yes, I can see it's an aerial shot of the Silver Woods estate. And in the upper left-hand corner, I can see my house, which is in the Silver Stream estate.
Now, where would you, where's your house? Not back here.
It's this unit here.
Just keep your finger there. My lady is pointing towards exactly where there's a circle now. It's towards the
the roof just above 46A Trevor, the roof just above the T, am I right?
Yes, that's correct.
Is that your house?
That is my house.
Let's turn the page to 930. Okay, recognize that?
Yes, I do. It's a view from the balcony where I stood on the night of the event.
You stood on that balcony?
That's correct.
At the moment, there's a red arrow. Does that have any significance for you?
I know that that is the window where the incident took place.
Let us turn the page to 931. Can you recognize that view?
Yes, I do. It's a zoomed in image of the same view as the previous image, also from my balcony.
And if you turn to 932, can you recognize that?
I do. It's the same view, same angle from the same spot on our balcony, just further zoomed in.
Okay. Now, you said you got up, you ran to the balcony. What happened then?
When I got out onto the balcony, I stood there and I listened, and I again heard a lady person screaming. I could hear she was in trouble. It was clearly distress calls.
Yes.
I can't say exactly how long I stood there. It felt like a couple of minutes. And at one point, I heard a lady person scream, "Help!" And moments after that, a male voice shouted 2 or 3 times. I'm not exactly certain, but it's more than once. A male person shouted, "Help, help, help."
What happened then?
It's at that point that my wife, who woke up when I got out of bed, called me back to the bedroom and said we should phone the security.
Yeah.
When I got back to the room, my wife handed me her phone. She had already dialed a number on the phone stored under the contact description security. And I understood that it was the security of the Silver Stream Estates security guard room.
Okay. Yes.
So the intention was that I would speak to our estate security personnel. I know that they're on radio contact with the security room of the Silver Woods estate, so that I could inform them of what I've heard. People are being attacked in their house. So,
yes.
At that point, we were under the impression that people are being attacked, like a house robbery or an armed robbery. So I wanted to bring it under the attention of the Silver Woods security estate's security. So when the person answered the telephone, I explained to them that there's people being attacked in the house in Silver Woods estate, and they should contact the security room. The first person that I spoke to was confused by what I told them, and they handed the phone to a second person, to whom I repeated the message. And when I said there are people being attacked in the Silver Woods estate, the person informed me that it's not the Silver Woods estate guard room, it's the Strubenkop estate's security.
And why would you have called Strubenkop?
I realized immediately my wife had stored it's a place where we lived previously, and she had never changed the contact number for the contact on her phone stored under security. So I immediately realized that we had called the wrong number, and I informed the person it's a wrong number, and I ended the phone call.
And what happened after you ended the phone call?
At that point, I didn't pay any attention to any of the sounds coming from the house or the direction where the earlier calls came from, so I can't give you any information on that. But I ran back to the balcony. When I got onto the balcony, the woman continued screaming. She started screaming again.
Okay, just a moment. Yes.
At that point, the intensity and the fear in her voice escalated, and it was clear that this person's life was in danger. That's when the first shots were fired. And I remember during the session of shots, I heard the lady scream again, and the last scream faded moments after the last gunshot was fired.
Before you carry on, you said that you heard the first gunshots. How many did you hear?
My lady, I knew there were a few shots. I didn't count them. In my version afterwards, when I told the first people, I said 5 or 6 shots. I didn't count the shots, but I knew there were quite a few. I've subsequently learned that it was 4, and it was confirmed in the reports.
Now, if you say you heard shots, could you explain what the time frame between the shots were, or what it sounded like to you?
Excuse me, can you?
The shots. Was there a time difference between the first and the second and third shots? What did you hear?
Yeah, there was a small pause after the first shot, and the remaining shots were fired in close succession.
So you then heard the shots. What happened there?
At that point, I returned to the bedroom, obviously quite alarmed and shocked at what we had heard. When I got back to the bedroom, I recall my wife saying to me that she thinks that lady's husband was just shot in front of her. And the reason why we thought that was because we heard the lady screaming before, during the shots. And the picture we had in our mind was that people were being held up in their house.
Yes.
After that, I can't recall any other noises or sounds that I heard from the area. My wife and I sat on the bed. We were obviously quite traumatized by what we had heard. And I don't think we spoke much after that. It was still quite early, shortly after 3, and we attempted to sleep further. I can recall hearing the security vehicle or a vehicle approaching the direction of where the shots came from, and that's why we assumed that someone else would have also witnessed the event and would have notified the security of Silver Woods. So as I said, we tried to sleep. I lay in bed, obviously concerned for our own security. We were under the impression that someone had been attacked in their house in a very secure complex. And my thinking was that if it could happen to them, the same could happen to us. So I lay awake thinking about how I can improve our security in our house. I remember at around 4 o'clock I got up out of bed and I fetched the tape measure to go and measure our door openings where our sliding doors are. I went back upstairs, tried to sleep, but couldn't really, and I woke up early, or got out of bed early around 5 a.m. And my wife and I both got up at that time and we went to the office. I was at my office quite early that morning, around 6. I recall when I left.
We have a difficulty to hear the witness.
Yeah.
We hear parts of it and parts of it. If you can just speak up a little bit.
Yes. Could you try to speak up again? You're getting softer and softer.
As I said,
yeah, you went to work early.
Yeah, so I ended up at the office quite early that morning, around 6 o'clock. And I remember I surfed a bit on the web to try and do research on security gates, to see if I can get more information on costs, etc., and sizes. I remember when I left our estate, I stopped at the security room and I inquired with the security officer on duty whether he knows what happened at Silverwoods estate the previous evening. And I was informed that they know that something happened, but they aren't exactly certain what happened. And I then proceeded to the office. It was my intention and my plan to phone a friend of mine, Willem Vos, who, together with Mr. Peter Hall, built our house in Silver Stream. And I was under the impression that Mr. Vos and Mr. Hall are busy building a house in the Silverwoods estate. And I thought they might have a contact that they could contact and find out more information on the incident of the previous evening. So I waited for 7 o'clock the next morning and I called Willem.
That's Mr. Vos.
Mr. Vos. So Mr. Vos was the first person that I told my version to, the same version that I'm giving you today. After I told him my story, what we had heard, he said he's going to phone around to see if he can get any information and he'll call me back. I made the phone call from a boardroom in our office. When I ended the phone call, I went into an office adjacent to the boardroom where 4 of my colleagues were. I then related the same version to them. After I told them what happened, a couple of minutes later, Willem or Mr. Vos called me back and he asked me to repeat my story, what I had heard, which I then did. He proceeded to say that he's hesitant to spread a rumor, but what he had heard was that the Olympic athlete, Mr. Oscar Pistorius, had shot his girlfriend. I remember I was very surprised at what he had told me, and I said to him, it's difficult for me to relate what I'd heard to what you are telling me. I was convinced it was a housebreak due to the fact that we heard both people, a man and a woman, calling for help. So after that, we ended that phone call. I went back into the office where my colleagues were, and I said to them that I don't want to spread this rumor any further, but this is what I'd heard. And as I told them what the news was, one of my colleagues saw the first report on the Beeld's website. So it was then confirmed. I then left that office where my colleagues were, and I proceeded to call my wife. And we had spoken, I think, maybe once or twice that morning. I know she had told her version to a number of her colleagues and also a friend of her to try, and she phoned a lady, Mrs. Goller. Her child goes to the daycare center in Silver Woods, and we thought that Mrs. Goller would be able to find out more information. So that's the reason why my wife and I spoken. When I called her, I asked her just to relate her version to me again, and I said once she had told me her version, I said to her, "Can you believe this is what I heard?" And I informed her of the allegations that it was Mr. Pistorius involved in the incident. And the reason why I did that was because I was still surprised, and she was as surprised as I am, that it was in fact a domestic violence incident and not an armed robbery or housebreak incident.
Why did you think at the time that it was domestic violence incident?
I think the fact that we had distinctly heard two different persons, a male and a female lady, calling for help. And when we heard their calls for help, the impression I was under that maybe the attackers had left the house and they were tied up or locked in a room and they were trying to alert the neighbors. That's just the impression that we were under.
So you spoke to your wife? Let's carry on from there. You spoke to your wife?
After I spoke to my wife, obviously it was, I think everyone is aware of how quickly the news spread and escalated, and so we followed it in the news. That afternoon when I got home, obviously throughout the day I saw aerial shots of the Silver Woods estate, and I was surprised to see how close we are to the house where it happened. So the afternoon when I got home, I got onto the roof of our house. There's a row of trees in our neighbor's yard, so it obscures our view. So I got onto the roof so I could see over the treetops. And I took a camera with me, and I was able to see the house, Oscar Pistorius' house, from our rooftop, and I took a photograph from there. I then proceeded to go and look at the Google Earth image and used a utility that is available on the Google Earth website to measure the distance. My estimate was around 150 meters. That same afternoon, after I got off the roof, spoke to my next door neighbor. He's also on the boundary between Silver Stream and Silver Woods, but he's my neighbor in Silver Stream. And I asked him whether he had heard anything. His name is Heinrich, I'm not sure what his surname is. So he said that they only woke up from the last shot, and he thinks the reason why I didn't hear anything was because they have a ceiling fan on in the room, which creates a hum, and that flushes out the noises. So I gave him the same version that I gave you today, how I remembered the events. And
how did it come about that you made a statement to the police?
So we initially didn't want to get involved. We also assumed that if we were so far away, 170 meters, I believe, I assumed that there would be many people that are much closer to the actual house that would have a much clearer recollection and would have heard more clearly what had happened. So we never thought that during the first week that we would have to get involved. As the bail application proceeded, we heard, or it came, more information became available, and we realized that there are no other witnesses that have come forward closer to us. I remember the Friday when the bail application or bail hearings verdict was given. We were on our way to Sabi, and I was going to participate in a mountain bike race. Just before we left, I'd spoken to our neighbor in the Silver Woods estate. I believe the lady's name is Mrs. Dale Maritz. And that was the first time after the incident that we had an opportunity to speak to her. And we discussed the incident and asked if she had heard anything. And she said no, they'd got an aircon unit that was on that evening, which also flushed out the noises. So we, on our way to Sabi, we listened to the court proceedings on the radio, and I recall a statement being made by the defense that there was only one person that had shouted or screamed that evening, and that was the accused. My version differed from that, and I felt morally obliged to come forward and provide my version. Obviously hoping that there would also be other witnesses that would come forward in an attempt to avoid any public blootstelling. I don't know what to blootstelling.
I didn't get that. You're getting soft again.
Sorry, I'm just looking for the English word. What's blootstelling in English?
The word is involvement. Involvement. You did not want to get involved.
Yeah, basically, sorry, if I can express it like this, we didn't want to get involved. We wanted to remain out of the public, obviously knowing what the interest would be worldwide in this case. So for that reason, we did not want to just go to the Boschkop police station and make a statement. We looked for a different avenue. My wife then contacted a advocate friend of hers, Mr. Advocate Nikki Maritz, and we gave our version to him, and he advised us to make notes in as much detail as what we can remember, as we will have to rely on those notes to refresh our memories, which we both did at that point. Nikki, Mr. Maritz, informed us that he knows Mr. Nell, Advocate Nell, and he will approach him. So that's how we set the ball in motion to come forward with our version and make a statement. It was, I'm not sure of the dates, but couple of days after that, the investigating team arrived at our house one evening and inquired if we had heard anything on the night of the 14th or the morning of the 14th. And that was the first time we made an official statement.
Now, when you made your statement, who took down your statement, your written statement by the police?
There was I can't remember, there were two gentlemen that came to our house. We gave them that first version, and then the following week, Captain Mike van Aert contacted me, and we made an appointment. He came to our house, and both my wife and I made a statement, and he wrote down our affidavits. The consultation happened separately, individually. I was not present while my wife made her statement, and nor was she when I made mine.
It's 4 minutes to 3. We've had a full day, and I could certainly use a couple of minutes to go through the notes before I finalize this evidence. May I then request that we adjourn for the day?
Thank you very much. Mr. Johnson, you're still under oath. Please don't discuss this case with anybody.
Yes, my lady.
We'll resume at 9:30 tomorrow morning.
Indeed.
Adjourn. Mr. Johnson, you're still under oath?
Yes, madam.
Thank you. Yes.
My lady, Leonard says this. Mr. Johnson, one final issue. Your cellular phone number was read out in court yesterday. Did you know about that?
My lady, yes, I'm aware of that.
How did you become aware of that?
During the morning session of the court proceedings, my phone started ringing incessantly. And the first call that I answered, the person informed me that, or asked whether I'm aware of the fact that my telephone number was read out in court. I informed the person that I'm not aware, and I also informed him that I have not testified, so please do not relate any of the details of the proceedings to me.
Yes, just try to be a little bit louder.
I beg your pardon.
Yes.
So what I said was, the person asked me whether I was aware that my number was read out in court. I then said to the person I was not aware that it was read out in court, as I'm awaiting witness in the witness rooms. And I also proceeded to ask them not to relate any details of the proceedings to me, as I have not testified yet. And then we ended the phone call. And thereafter I turned my phone off, and I received, when I turned it on, there were a large number of missed phone calls, and one voicemail message left from an overseas person.
Just a moment. We will not go through all the messages, but there's one particular message. Could you tell the court, you saved it on your phone, the message that you were relaying?
I have it saved on my phone.
What did it say?
Something to the tune of, I couldn't make out whether it was Mr. or Mrs. Berger. The person said, why are you lying in court about, we know Oscar didn't kill Reeva. It's not cool. Come on, man. Something of that nature. I can't remember exactly, but it was in a way intimidating.
And since then, you haven't checked your phone for other messages?
Well, it keeps on ringing, my lady, so I keep it turned off. It's quite an inconvenience. I've owned that telephone number for close to 15 years. All my personal and business contacts know me by that number. So I feel my privacy has been compromised severely.
I've nothing further.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Rook.
Thank you, my lady. Mr. Johnson, if I may ask you, please, and it might be difficult for you, but otherwise I have to move closer. I really have difficulty in hearing you. You're some distance away from me. So please, if it's possible, I know it's difficult for you in court and you may concentrate on different things, but if you can speak up a little bit.
Sure, I'll try my best to speak louder.
Please. Where were you when your wife testified in court?
I was at the back in the witness rooms. I was at the back of the court building, the first floor in the witness rooms.
And you were basically available, should it have been requested of you, to give evidence directly after your wife?
Lady, that is correct.
You did not listen to a television broadcast of her evidence or to a radio broadcast of her evidence?
Milady, I avoided all media broadcasts. That includes radio, television, electronic media, printed media, Twitter, and avoided telephone conversations with my friends. I would respond with an SMS informing them that I will discuss or I will call them back after I've testified. So I've done my utmost best to avoid any exposure to proceedings in court.
You also knew that because both you and your wife were coming to give evidence, that it would be advisable and correct not to discuss your evidence and her evidence with you.
That is correct, my lady.
So can I assume then that you two refrain from discussing what she would say to the court and what you would tell to the court?
Absolutely.
In her evidence, she made it clear that she did not read your statement. My impression was she did not want to read your statement deposed to by you to the police. And can I...
Just 1 minute, Mr. Rowe. What is that disturbance? What is it?
It's a...
Pardon?
It's a pop.
Please stand up. What is it?
Very sorry, it's a pop-up on my laptop, but I didn't know that.
Okay. You know, I just want to say this to you. Please, I hope this is the last time I reprimand somebody in court. I don't like it.
Assume that you would equally not have read her statement to sort of not compromise your evidence.
My lady, that is correct. I've never read or heard her statement that she made to Captain Van Aert. In fact, I was not even present when it occurred. And I also did not read the notes, her personal notes that she made to herself as advised by Advocate Nikki Maritz.
So it seems then to me, to summarize this, when you realized from that time about a year ago that you were going to be a witness and your wife was going to be a witness. You deliberately refrained from discussing the matter. That's one, is that correct? Two, from exchanging notes on the matter.
Can I just, milady, can I reply to the first question? We discussed the matter, but not each other's evidence. More just in support to each other. It was a traumatic experience.
Yeah, just the emotional side, but not the merit, not the factual content.
Absolutely.
Yes. You also deliberately did not read her statement, and she deliberately did not read your statement.
That is correct, milady.
You also did not exchange any notes on it.
That is correct.
Yesterday, you also sanitized, you blocked yourself out from any influence what the evidence might have been in court.
That is correct.
We saw that your wife, she concluded the testimony, she left court, and then we saw her coming back into court again when you entered the court to testify.
That is correct.
Now, let's look at some of the things in your evidence. And first of all, if I may ask the state to make Exhibit N, that's for Nelly, that is my lady and learned assessors, that is this witness's statement. Available. Whilst we're finding the statement, in the meantime, I just want you to identify that that is indeed the statement that you deposed to, where to Mr. Van Aert.
Can I confirm this is my wife's statement?
No, not your wife. I want your statement. It's Exhibit N. Just make sure that that's indeed your statement, and that's the statement that you made to Captain Van Aert, and it's your signature.
Yes, milady.
And my understanding is that Mr. Van Aert was very professional. You told him your version. He took it down, as policemen must do. He read it back to you. You were satisfied. Then you signed it and you took the oath. You affirmed the correctness of the statement.
That is correct, my lady.
And you were satisfied that your statement reflected the true position of the events.
According to my observations that evening, I believe this is accurate.
Yes. And as your statement was made at a time that was relatively close to the events would have been sort of fresh in your memory. It was not a long time. It was a month after the incident.
That is correct, my lady.
Yes. Now, I want to ask you certain things about it, Mr. Johnson, if you would bear with me. I'm going to deal with a number of aspects that I will argue to the court that it's striking that you were yesterday in a position in your evidence of chief to testify about it. I'm going to start with the first one, and let me immediately preface it by saying to you, the first point that I'm going to raise would seem to be really insignificant. And that is when you went to bed. And I know it doesn't matter really on the merits of the case, whether you went to bed at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 or 12 o'clock or 8 o'clock. But it will be used in conjunction with other points. So I'm sorry about the first point. But what was interesting about your evidence yesterday is this. that you say that in your evidence that you went to bed between 9 and 10. You remember that?
I do, that is correct.
Now, of course, how insignificant might be. What was interesting, that in your statement, as you will see, you say that you went to bed approximately 9 o'clock. However, in your wife's evidence, she used exactly the same time, not approximately 9 o'clock, but that you went to bed between 9 and 10, the same as your evidence yesterday.
Must I respond? My lady?
Yes.
I don't find it's funny. It's our routine. We are highly routinely based people. And if you have to ask me what time I went to bed 2 weeks ago, I would confidently answer between 9 and 10. That's how we go to bed, we finish up and retire between those hours.
Mr. Johnson, the point is maybe different. Whilst you would so confidently answer between 9 and 10, that was not your statement. But we'll get to the other points. This is a small one. Your statement was approximately 9 o'clock and not between 9 and 10. It is just a coincidence, perhaps, that your wife testified that it was between 9 and 10, and yesterday when you testified, yours were also then, contrary to your statement, between 9 and 10. That's all I put to you. But it's not because you've discussed it with your wife.
Not at all.
Good. Now, the second point is this. You can go through your statement, and I will not mislead the court, but in paragraph 5 of your statement, 4 and 5, you deal with making a call to the security and the wrong security and whatever, not too important. But what you don't deal with was what was the situation at that time with the woman screaming. You agree?
My lady, that is correct.
You don't deal with it in your statement. Now, will you accept it when I put it to you that likewise, and the statement is before court as Exhibit M, likewise, your wife deals with the telephone call to security and also in a statement does not deal with whether they were screaming at that time. Will you accept that?
I accept that, yes.
Yeah. Or whether she heard screaming or whether they were screaming, whatever, same as yours. Both of you in your statements did not deal with it. However, in cross-examination, I asked her about it. And she said words to the effect that at that time she was not focusing on concentrating on the screaming because of the telephone. You understand?
I do.
Of significance yesterday, without the state prompting you, no question from the state in that regard, you tendered evidence consistent with that of your wife that she had not dealt with in her affidavit to say, state didn't ask you about it. I didn't pay any attention to any sounds coming from the house or the direction. How is that? How is that your wife was cross-examined? It's not in your statement. It is not in her statement. She was then cross-examined about the screaming